You're listening to the Reinvest Podcast, where each Tuesday we show business owners and entrepreneurs how to reclaim, reconnect, and refocus their life by bringing you the top real estate professionals in the industry. We'll help you diversify into real estate by equipping you with the tools and tactics to build generational wealth. Your hosts, Garrett Gatton and Seth Ciminillo. Hey guys, welcome to another episode 106 of the Reinvest Podcast. Woo! Today we're going to get into some good stuff. We're going to talk about the 5 crucial people that you need to have on your real estate investing team. These are different people that you're going to rely on in order to find success, and we're going to tell you how to build that out. Before we do that, here's what I want to ask of you. Pause the episode, leave us a review, leave us 5 stars if you think it's worth that. Share it with a friend. We do this for free as a way to add value to you guys. And then that's a way that you can help us in the process is by kind of boosting that up the ranks in the so-called proverbial algorithm.
That'll help us get more exposure.
Okay, real estate investing is a team sport, okay? So team always doesn't mean partner.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
So you're going to rely on different people in order to find success, right? There's solopreneur, right? And even those people that are doing it on their own, they still rely on others in order to find deals, to be able to finance those, right? You just have key relationships that you're going to need to cultivate, and it's a team sport. So we're going to distill down 5 essential relationships that you need to have in order to be successful in investing. Before we get into that, how have you kind of seen that for yourself, Seth, of some of those key relationships? Like,
I would say lender's a massive one. The confidence to be able to like reach out to a lender and ask questions is huge in itself. What kind of financing options are available? And then finding different lenders for different products. I mean, when I started, I didn't even know what DSCR loans are. Yeah. But it's like, wow, that's kind of a cool option that might fit inside a box for a certain property, which is a debt service coverage ratio loan. And, then there's the non-owner occupant conventional loans if you're buying it in your personal name. You can get a 30-year AM on that. So there's a lot of different kind of vehicles you can use, but different banks offer different vehicles. So some of the loans in my portfolio are not conventional standard loans, and they are privately held loans that the banks are holding. So it's just building those relationships. I would say that's probably one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, and to comment on that, most people don't see it this way, but the bank is your largest partner.
Yeah.
I mean, they own, potentially 75% of the property that you just purchased. That's a massive key relationship that you have to have in order for you, especially starting out. I mean, unless you plan on buying everything cash, which kudos to you. Call me later. I'd like to have your number. One of the best part about real estate is you can leverage it. So the bank is a huge, huge piece of that. So, okay, let me hit the 5 we're going to go through. Lender is one of those, and then we'll break these down. And I'd like to say this. In order to know, who these relationships are that you need to cultivate, you need to understand your business model. You need to understand real estate investing enough to know who are the industry, the affiliates, the people that are integral to purchasing real estate. So number 1 is you have a lead funnel. If you want to buy real estate, you have to find the real estate. So those are brokers, realtors, wholesalers, even investor to investor. And there's some others outside of that would fit into that. But you have to have a lead funnel. So that's number 1.
I mean, just to comment on that, what do you think about those investors that reach out to you and they just say, hey, if you got any flip deals, I want to flip.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say this, it's a good start, and it stops way short of building a meaningful relationship to the point that I would send them a property that would actually be what they're interested in, because they just put themselves in a long line of about 25 to 30 people who have said that, and there's no differentiator between them and those other people. And in fact, I know those other people better than I know them. I will say, especially in the realtor world, a lot of business is kind of like who's in front of you now. Mm-hmm. And so that consistency of contact is really important, because there's times where just by somebody reaching out at the right time, maybe I just got a deal or a lead that I haven't even fully marketed yet. Somebody calls me and says, hey, and they've consistently been in front of me. I'm still looking. Do you have anything? By the way, I'll be in Lima in the next couple of weeks.
I just happened with a duplex that we had for sale.
Oh, yeah. Maybe explain that.
Yeah. So I have this investor buyer who has kind of been looking for a duplex, and the property that he wanted to pursue actually went under contract before he had an opportunity to put an offer on it. And so that was kind of that. There wasn't much else in the market that was appealing. But then just out of nowhere, I had the seller who said, hey, I want you to get this duplex listed like ASAP. So we were like, yeah, we'll get it done 24 hours. We'll have it listed tomorrow. And this guy reached back out to me and was like, hey, you got anything? Like, I'm still wanting to buy something like soon for a duplex. And I was like, wouldn't you know it? We got this one off market.
Yeah.
That we're listing tomorrow if you want a shot at it. And he did. He moved quick. He knew what he wanted. He knew what he was looking for. And he offered on it and he got it. I mean, he just, and he was willing to pay what the sellers wanted for it too. So it was just kind of like sometimes just tapping the broker, tapping the relationship, and just kind of checking in. I know naturally realtors are going to be trying to do that to you as well, to stay front of mind of you.
Right.
But especially when you are the investor, when you have the investor hat on, a lot of times you're going to be the one that has to kind of have the initiative to reach out to that broker, that relationship. This is for small deals and big deals.
Let me hit you with this. Okay. This is, so while we're talking lead funnel is the number one. Okay. And within lead funnel, we've got broker and realtor relationships. We're going to go to wholesaler next. On the broker realtor side, you need to understand how to create an advantageous scenario for them. So for example, somebody calls me and says, hey, I'm looking to get into the flipping game. Send me, maybe some flip opportunities when you get them. That means nothing to me. You started, and that is like step one of multiple that now I'm watching to see if you're going to follow through on. Because, and this is sad, most likely I'm going to forget like shortly after we have that conversation. And the reason why is we get inundated so often with those kind of solicitations that it's not my responsibility to keep track of all of those, because I have a short list of people that I know are going to perform, and you kind of like build that because you want certainty. And here's the lingo, right? I want something as a realtor in an investor client that's going to purchase from me. I want certainty. I want speed. And I also want to maximize my relationship. So if you tell me you're going to flip, that means I know you're going to sell that property when you're done. And if I know that you're going to sell it with somebody else, like another realtor, or sell it on your own, and I have 8 investors that will buy and then retail that with me, it would be stupid of me not to pursue those relationships first.
But also, and just so correct, and then just to even add on to that, like if you're trying to build those broker relationships, realtor relationships, know what your buy box is. Don't just go to them and be like, I want to buy an investment property. I want to buy a cash flow property. I want to buy a flip. And it's just like that is such a broad statement. You need to do the work on your end too to figure out what do you want to buy. Sometimes it's working with that realtor partner to figure out like what would be a good fit for you. And sometimes we help clients figure that out. But you got to narrow down your buy box. I want to buy things that are on the north end of town that are no bigger than 1,500 square feet. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I can work with that. Now I have something to kind of filter in these listings and opportunities through. So I know which ones are I'm not going to waste my time if I send it to you, because it's something that's genuinely going to interest you and not a 100-year-old 3,000 square foot house where I'm like, it could be a good deal for someone, but it's going to be a ton of work and I'm just wasting my time. So I would say you need to figure out what you want to buy.
That's good. And just a caveat too on, kind of setting clear expectations in that relationship. We have people that buy stuff from us and they're like, hey, I'm probably gonna sell it on my own first. And if I can't do that, maybe I'll reach out to you. At least I know that.
Yeah.
So you kind of set those clear expectations, and then that realtor knows kind of how to play by those rules and what they're getting into when they bring a deal to you. Wholesaler. This is another one that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't. Or maybe you've heard of it, but you've never dealt with somebody who's actually the mythical wholesaler.
The mythical wholesaler.
So how do you, maybe tell us, how do you find a wholesaler? Have you ever seen one before?
I think wholesalers find you if they find out you're an investor. Somehow those guys get you on their list to kick out deals to. But meetups, RIAs are probably the best way to find a wholesaler, or
jumping on Marketplace and finding properties that are listed, because a lot of time wholesalers are marketing those properties through other channels.
Ton of Facebook groups that are like, Lima Area Investment Group, Dayton Area Investment Group. And there's just so many wholesalers. You could literally go on those forums and be like, who's a wholesaler? And you'd probably get like 20 people that reach out to you.
Me. Right.
So if you are looking for a wholesaler to try to build a relationship with because you want to find those off-market deals and you don't mind a wholesaler making a little bit of money in between, that is also a good avenue for a lead funnel to build those relationships. Again, wholesalers want the same thing. They want certainty of close. They want to know you're serious. They want to know that you're not going to waste their time or blow up their deal.
Yeah, so now you're looking for properties that are listed. You're looking for properties that are brought to you by a realtor partnership like off market, a pocket listing. You've got wholesale relationships, which are people who are marketing properties that they've negotiated direct to seller, and now they are looking for an investor to purchase those, and they just, skim off the middle kind of thing.
And bottom line, if you are working with a wholesaler or a realtor to buy investment deals, you got to be okay with that person making money.
Yeah, that's good.
You cannot do it at expense of them, because then what you're going to do is you're going to have a one-time transaction with that person because they're not going to work with you again. And you might say, hey, that's okay because there's other people. Well, guess what? You do that enough times and you're really going to bite the hand that feeds you, and people are not going to want to work with you. But if you want to build a lasting relationship of someone that can actually help you in your business, it has to be a win-win. You cannot just squeeze them and expect like a fruitful relationship.
It's ironic. I have seen a lot of investors miss out on really good deals because they saw what the guy before them was making, and they just couldn't get over that. It was like a weird block in their brain, and they said, well, I'm not interested now because I'm overpaying for it. And it's like, hey, forget about the guy before you. Look at the numbers that you're buying it at. Can you make it work? Do you want to make it work? And a lot of the time in those scenarios I'm mentioning, the answer is yes. But they just couldn't get over that.
Like an ego thing.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not going to be the sucker. And it's like, okay, then you're not going to have any deals.
A deal's a deal. So, right. I mean, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So,
yeah, that's good. And then, to comment on that, let's say that you feel a little sour because, oh man, there's people out here making money going direct to seller. You can go direct to seller.
Yeah.
And that's another aspect I didn't put on this list because it's hard to kind of systematize this, and it's its own business model in of itself.
And it's almost outside of it being a teammate because that seller's probably going to be a one-time transaction.
Right.
But whereas the wholesale and the realtor are going to
We're talking about channel partners, people that are going to continually bring you recurring deals. Okay, so lead funnel's number one. You're getting leads coming in. One of the next big ones that you need to know, and this may... maybe you agree with it, maybe you don't, is property management. Okay, so let me caveat this. Property management, these are companies that manage real estate property, usually residential real estate, or, like apartment complexes on behalf of other owners. So they're leasing up these units, marketing those units, facilitating the ongoing management and maintenance of those units for said party. Some of you might be like, hey, I'm not intending to have a property manager. I manage my own properties. Well, you're still missing some of the benefit that a property manager can provide, because really at their crux, not only are they the third-party management for you to have a hands-off experience, but they are like market experts on market rate rents for a 3-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, a 2-bedroom in this school district, a 3-bedroom in this school district. They have a real-time pulse on everything that's going on in the market because they're getting rep after rep after rep of seeing how renters are acting, kind of what the demand is.
And they're able to make those adjustments since they have so many properties. So even before it comes to your property, maybe they've already made the adjustment on someone else's property and realized, oh, that rented out really fast. We had a ton of applications. Let's push the price point $50. So there's a lot of benefits. It's also, they bring a lot of contractor relationships into the mix.
That's a good,
whether
network.
They're the ones doing the maintenance on the property or they have so many subcontractors that work with them, they're able to service your properties quickly and keep your tenants happy, which then, in fact, you don't have to do that. So,
and here I want to make an important distinguishment. Why are we picking these 5 people? Okay, these 5 roles. What we want to help you do is we want to help you find one person that is going to give you 6 outcomes versus you having to go and check off, okay, I got to find contractors. I got to go find financing. I got to build 5 different lead funnels. We want to centralize these things for you. And these are the people or the roles that are going to help you centralize that if you can establish this relationship, you will not have to spend as much time or energy cultivating and building out your investment business. So you want to kind of like, that's leverage. That's what we're talking about. There's all types of leverage. And you're leveraging relationships of key people who are gatekeepers in the community that are going to help you get and scale an investment portfolio. So that's a good one. Networker of contracting relationships. That's a big one. So here's how to create a win-win relationship with a property manager. By and large, at the end of the day, have them manage your stuff. Okay. You may not be big enough for that to make sense now, and that's okay too. So you're always trying to monitor how much am I taking, how much am I giving. And so if you're too small to have them manage, maybe there's other ways that you can work with them. Sometimes property management companies will just find a tenant for you, do tenant placement, and then turn over the ongoing management to you, and they make the lease up fee. So that might be a way to grease the wheels with them. Hey, I'm still new to the area. I don't know how to find or vet good tenants. You lease out the property for me. I'll pay you the first month's rent or whatever their fee is, and then I'll take over the ongoing management. And you're able to build that relationship. And then when you ask for their expertise on the front end, when you're looking at a property, hey, what do you think this 4-bedroom can rent for? It's not going to feel like it's just a big wild ask. If you do get to the point where they're managing your stuff, don't micromanage them. Okay, like they have a lot going on, a lot of units coming through the door, and they have a system. So here's my recommendation, because you do want to manage them. You want to asset manage. You want to oversee that, because if you don't, things can slip away really quickly. The person who's going to care the most about your property is not your property manager. It's you.
Which is sad, but it is. That is what it is.
It's the reality. And so that's why a lot of people are like, well, that's exactly why I self-manage. Fine, I get it. But if you've read a lot of the books about how to scale, how to build something, you need to delegate something once somebody can do 65 or 75% to the capability that you can. And in many ways, if you're starting out, they're going to be able to do it better than you. So you need to, don't micromanage them. Get a system to review the progress. So maybe you're going to have a template, or you have a few metrics, and you're going to email them once a week for them to say, hey, how many showings or applications were on my open units last week? Hey, what's the automated way that you guys submit work orders? I'd like to be notified when a work order gets submitted on one of my properties. Establish that, and usually they have a system to where you're not asking them to recreate the wheel. You're plugging into an extension of how they run their business. You're just asking to be notified. I don't know if you want to comment on that, but that's kind of my 2 cents.
It will, even working with a property management company will help you learn the ropes of how to manage a property yourself. So, I mean, even if you're brand new, still a good idea. It's just, it'll help you learn the business a little better, but not required. Definitely not something that you have to have on the front end. You could wait till you have some units and make mistakes on your own dime and then move it to a property management company. But there's a lot of ways to do that. But yeah, no, property managers, it's good to know. It's good to have them. They're good resources. What's the next one?
Number 3 is contractor relationships. So there's really 2 buckets these guys are going to fall into. These are your maintenance guys, the handymen, the ones that are kind of the emergency phone calls. They're the stopgap. It's, hey, we had a cold snap in December. I had a pipe burst. I need somebody out there to fix like a leaky pipe because I got water pouring in my my laundry room off the back of my duplex. Yep. Real scenario.
So that,
that
and sometimes if you have a property manager, that will be easy. They'll make that phone call because they have their own maintenance partners and stuff like that. But if you are not, this is when contractor relationships are really key when you're self-managing, because you need to have those emergency services. You need to have relationships with those people, so that way when something happens on Christmas Eve, you can call them and they actually come out and they fix it, which that happened to me, and I couldn't believe someone actually came out on Christmas Eve and fixed something.
How much did they charge you, and how easy of that was it to rationalize pulling away on Christmas Day or paying someone?
I mean, it didn't matter. They could have charged me double what they charged me because it was Christmas Eve that pipes burst. But they came over and fixed it that day. I don't know, it was a couple $100 to like initially fix it, and then we replaced some stuff later and did new laundry hookups, and that was like $500. But I mean, just the fact that they were making calls, was enough for me, and I was really grateful for that. So those partnerships, I mean, you're gonna need. There's so many of them, but there's also, aside from maintenance guys, I mean, it's like on a unit turn.
Yep.
Who are you going to call on a unit turn to come in and maybe you have to do new flooring, painting? It's better to find one guy that can maybe handle a unit turn than subcontracting 3 or 4 different people out to come in and do it, because then you're wasting time logistically. You're trying to be like, well, I got to get the flooring guy in after the painting guy comes in. So when can the painting guy come in? But if you can find one guy, and there's a lot of people out here that do this, like companies out there that do unit turns, or maybe it's a general contracting company that they know part of that is doing some unit turns for landlords. But if you can find one guy that can come in and do all of that, it's really going to cut down on the time that you're going to have your unit open, and you'll be able to get back to market.
There's a
faster.
difference between turnover and remodel. So turnover would be like maybe some flooring, deep clean, painting. Yeah, maybe a few light fixtures, small kind of handyman stuff. Remodel is going to be more extensive, so you're going to work with a general contractor, or maybe you would sub out some of that because there's more parts. You're doing a remodel of a bathroom. You're gutting it. You need somebody capable. Usually you're going to find a general contractor, but not a handyman that can just be your one guy to do that. And then these are also guys that can give you estimates or assessments before you purchase a property. So I just had this happen. Had a general contractor come in and remodel a house that we purchased. As I'm there, we're talking, and I said, hey, what would this look like doing it again? And he's like, hey, call me the next time you have a property that you're looking at, and I will come walk through that with you, and I will point out any kind of trouble areas that you might not see. And then we can also go through some napkin numbers to see if it would make sense at what you think you could purchase it at. So now I'm able to move a lot faster because I can pick up the phone and I can show up at a showing for the first time and bring that guy with me.
And you've proven yourself as like a paying client that's not going to waste his time.
I paid him.
Yeah, so
he's made money off me.
Like if you're just trying to call someone you've never worked with to come do that, they may not do it. They may be a little hesitant. But it's just part of the importance of building out that team, building out those relationships, so that way it can be a win-win for everybody. So
how to create a win-win relationship: give him business, pay him on time. You do those two things, and you're going to get somebody to show up and give you some information for something that may or may not turn into business for them.
Yep.
And in all of these, someone has to win. Like they have to have margin to win and make money. I know a lot of guys who are really good. It's like a skill for how they're able to structure relationships and deals to where they make money and that other person really makes just enough to like feel like they made something, but not enough to be excited about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be one of those guys in business because I can actually make money and still have someone else win. Those are the relationships I want to be a part of. So don't be somebody that's always dangling a carrot and you never promise, you never follow through. You will get a reputation for that, and it will hurt you in the long run.
So what's next? What's number 4?
Number 4, Seth mentioned this earlier, is lender relationships. Okay, these are commercial or residential lenders. Local banks are great to work with, and truly they are relational in their lending nature. So when we talk about what does that mean that they're relational? It means that they will look at the past business they've done with you, your track record, your reputation, your involvement in the excellence to which you operate your properties, and they will make financial decisions that will be in your favor based on those variables.
Like when you're just starting out, it's hard to wrap your head around this. You'll go to a bank and that bank will just tell you no. Like, can I get this loan? No. But someone else could walk in that bank that has the same exact needs and they could say, hey, can I get this loan? And they'd be like,
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Let us take care of that. Because maybe they have a history with that person. That person's done several $1 million of loans with them already. They've proven themselves as an investor, whether that's in a flipping capacity or a buy and hold rental capacity. The bank actually cares about that stuff when you're talking about a local bank. And really, local banks are the best ones to work with as investors. If you try to be an investor and work with Wells Fargo or Chase or Bank of America for loans and stuff, what are you doing?
And we're talking to smaller portfolio, smaller commercial. Once you get into larger scale, 100-unit apartment complexes, there's a different lending strategy, and you might still use a local bank, but there's going to be other loan products available to you. So these are going to be lower dollar, lower volume transactions. Here's what I'd like to say of this. This took me a long time to understand. I'm going to pull back the curtain and show you kind of the underworld of bank lending and how to talk their language in a way that will benefit you. Banks, local banks, even regional banks, they live and thrive on deposits, which means if you have money for your operational stuff, personal accounts, business accounts, rental accounts, and you store that money at their bank, that gives them liquidity to go and invest that as a lending institution. And so if you're trying to establish a relationship with a bank, maybe you're from out of the area looking to invest in a new market, or you're even from that market, open an account with them, fund it with money, and allow them to hold your deposits, or maybe even have a CD.
Especially if you're investing out of town or out of state.
Yes.
Especially if you're out of town or out of state. I mean, that's just like, that's huge.
Because now you're aligning other people in the community that are going to help you establish credibility with others, right? And even have a CD. Maybe open a 6-month or a 12-month CD, store some money there. You're letting them win. You're showing them in good faith, I'm going to put money here at the bank so that you will give me the financial products that I need to continue to buy real estate. So those are some really practical hacks and tips there on establishing lender relationships.
And I would say one that's not even on this list that I'm going to throw in there as number 5 is insurance.
Oh, that's good.
Your insurance agent. That's actually a really big deal. You want insurance on your properties. If you didn't know that. But insurance is just really important. It's getting really expensive. You've probably heard people talk about it a lot, especially depending on what state you're investing in. But it's really valuable to have a knowledgeable insurance agent for your properties to figure out what are those add-ons that you need on your properties, what kind of insurance policy do you have currently, is it sufficient, are you reviewing those policies? You don't want to be caught sleeping on that stuff, because insurance, like anything else, you don't even notice it until you need it, and then all of a sudden you're upset if it's not what you actually need, or if it doesn't cover the cost of your property in the event of a fire or a tornado or a hurricane or whatever that is. So building out those insurance partners are really, really, really key.
Yeah, that's good. That's a little bonus for you guys. The last one that you may not have thought about is other investors. So at face value, you're like, hey, why would other investors be like good, crucial partnerships that I would need to establish? Because on one hand, you're their competitor, especially if they're trying to do the same thing that you're trying to do. And that may be the case. But let me tell you about investors, something that you maybe don't understand, or you've seen this happen, and it would reinforce why this needs to be a priority for you. Investors always have stuff going on. So let's say you're buying small, multifamily, single-family houses for buy and hold, and I'm doing the same thing. But let's say that I've got a lot of equity in a property that maybe I've owned for a while, or someone brings me a deal that's not really in my buy box, but like if I can make a little bit to wholesale it to somebody else, and it is in your buy box, by knowing me, maybe I would be a deal source for you. And so you have to have an abundance mentality for these kind of relationships to work.
Yeah.
And I would say just in doing a meetup over the last couple of years, I have felt that.
Yeah.
We've sourced deals through our investor partnerships,
Yep.
Our investor meetups, people who are doing the same thing we're doing, but said, I like the deal, but not enough. Do you want it? And I'll make a few $1,000s. And that works out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we just sourced a deal through an investor who's my competitor.
Yep.
So, and then investors also, you have to be this way in order to kind of continue the culture. There's really a lot of transparency about those kind of the information that goes on.
And it's pretty relational, I would say, overall. Yeah. I mean, it's just like building those relationships, just like anything else. So, I mean, I think you just have to put the time in and be at the right places. We did an episode about being in the right rooms, getting around the right people. I mean, it's kind of working out those principles to build out your network in this way, so that you have an opportunity to buy those deals. So
I'm going to say something that I hope comes across as direct. If you're not able to have like meaningful relationships with other investors, that says something about you. And that is a yellow flag, honestly, if you can't play nice with others and have those win-win relationships, because there's no reason that you can't have that be something working for you.
So just in recap, for these essential partnerships that you need to have a successful real estate business, you need brokers, realtors, or wholesalers. That's your lead funnel, right? So you need to build out your team that way. You need property manager. Even if you're not going to use them on the front end, at some point you probably will want a property manager. Contracting relationships is number 3. Lender is number 4. Insurance agents, insurance partners, number 5. And then other investors are going to be pivotal as you start doing deals, as you start buying and selling stuff.
And we're going to end with this, if you're in Northwest Ohio and you're like, oh, cool, these are the people I need on my team, where do I find these people? Reach out to Seth or I, and we would love to connect you with the right people. We have spent time, 5 years, building these relationships and cultivating these. So we've weeded out the people that are good and the people that aren't so good in these categories. So, hey, I hope this was helpful for you today. Thanks for joining, and we'll join you on the next episode. As always, excited that you joined us for another episode of the Reinvest Podcast. Stay tuned every Tuesday for new episodes. And if you want to learn how you can use your hard-earned capital to diversify into real estate, go to our website, lv5capital.com, and shoot us a message. Move farther, reach higher, and grow deeper. We'll see you next time.